Hey friends, welcome back to OG Universe. Thank you so much for stopping by today and taking a look at this video. Today we're continuing our look at the Mcfarlane Collector Series Wave 2. We did Firestorm, very impressive figure, spoiler alert, and we are doing Hawkman and Sinestro will be up next. Now Hawkman, this figure is sporting his mid-90s 0 hour appearance. Now this figure, very true to the comic representation of it. We've only had one other represented 0 hour Hawkman, and that was from the Kenner Total Justice lineup from back in the mid-90s as well. Had the kind of grayish blue pants. He had some crazy looking tech armor talons. It was kind of weird, but back then, we weren't indulged to these great figures that Mcfarlane produces back then. Back then, Kenner, 5 points of articulation was pretty much standard. Mcfarlane was changing up the game, but even then, they weren't the most super articulated figures, but sculpted really nice. So enough of that. Let's take a look at the figure that is in front of us right now. So packaging, it's pretty much standard Mcfarlane Collector Series. A little bit bigger packaging compared to your standard Mcfarlane figure. You got the silver embossed lettering. There you go, Hawkman. This is number 5 in the Collector Series edition. Now the artwork on the back is really nice. This is a David Finch piece of artwork from the Brightest Days storyline, which I highly recommend. It's a fantastic companion piece to the Blackest Night storyline. Definitely pick those up. They are phenomenal comic book series. Really enjoyed them. But unfortunately, this figure doesn't represent, or this packaging artwork doesn't represent what we're getting inside. Very close. I mean, it's very dark down here. His pants could be a dark gray, but they are green. And you can see a bit of the red piping right here as well on the side of his leg. So hopefully Mcfarlane will get the packaging artwork corrected. Now, this figure, does he justify the higher price point for a collector series? Now, he just comes with a display stand. You have the trading card and its display stand as well. The trading card's really nice. I really like that artwork. Got a bit of a write-up on the back for Carter Hall. Now, that's pretty much it, guys. He doesn't come with extra hands, any kind of blast effect, any kind of accessories besides his mace and his massive wings. So a little disappointing there. You know, we've seen Firestorm, who's right here in the packaging, and he comes with a plethora, a lot of freaking hands. Fire effect hands, gesturing hands. It was really nice to have all those extra hands. But for Hawkman, I don't think extra hands would really enhance the figure. I think if he had extra weapons, because he is loaded out with weapons, a shield, a sword, possibly an axe, the mace, of course. And during his 0 hour appearance, he had a weapon. It looks like a triangle, like a wedge of cheese, basically. I think it's called a guitar or something like that. And that would have been great to be included with this, and maybe an extra hand that is actually open to hold weapons. It's a closed fist. Bit of a miss on that, guys. I'm going to say that right off the hop. Bit of a miss, but the figure does have a lot going for it in the style, representation, and we'll take a little bit of a closer look here at the figure. Now, the wings are reused wings from the Redeemer figure from the Spawn line. So a little bit disappointing there where we're getting them reused, but these wings are very nice. They do have a bit of articulation in the back as well with the socket connection. Now, the Sky Tyrant version of the Batman Who Laughs does have articulated wings, and I've seen a lot of people put them on, and to me, it just didn't look great. I think the wings were just way too thin. I know it has that point of articulation to expand the wing span, but just didn't do it for me, and I'm probably going to stick with these wings on the figure for now. But one thing about this figure that really caught me and blew me away was that head sculpt. That head sculpt is absolutely phenomenal. The detailing, now it is one single color. It's a gold paint that looks really nice. It pops like you wouldn't believe. But man, that face sculpt, all the attention to detail is absolutely phenomenal. Another thing that I really appreciate what they did is, it's kind of weird, but he has this sculpted hair. It's not just painted on hair like we've seen in some Marvel Legend figures. Yeah, I'm talking about you, Wolverine, on his arms. This is actually sculpted hair, painted. And man, it just looks fantastic. When I first took it out of the figure, I'm what the heck? It just felt weird. And I'm like, oh my God, sculpted hair. Very nicely done. He does have a lot of musculature. He's got veins bulging out of his shoulders, biceps. He is a jacked figure. And that's really how I see Hawkman. A big hulking figure, imposing. He's a warrior that's seen a lot of battles. He's been alive and reincarnated. He could be an alien from Thanagar. There's so much going on throughout his convoluted history, but man, it just adds to the character. I think he's such an impressive, visually stunning character. And even in this representation of the 0 Hour costume, it's still pretty damn good. I would prefer that classic, but this is what we got for now. And I'm sure down the line, I'm gonna see Mcfarlane probably use this head sculpt on another version of Hawkman, possibly tweaking it. But yeah, let's take a closer look at these wings. So the wings are beautifully sculpted, a lot of detailed feathers. Man, just fantastic job on these wings. Now, he does have a bit of articulation. There is a socket joint in there to give him a little bit of range, but you're not going to get much. Now, I would have liked to have seen this kind of style of wing, more fuller, more presence to it, but with a possible hinge tucked in here to expand it just a little bit. Not ready to expand it up where it's going to thin out, but just give it a little bit more bulk. I think that would have been pretty nice, but I'm going to try to take off these wings. Now, I didn't push them all the way in. So as you take a closer look, that is your connection point, and the articulation is just in this small ball socket here. So I kind of want to be careful with these wings. I don't want to put them in so hard that if I'm trying to take them off, I want to put them back in the package or something that they could break. Well, this one is in pretty good. Wow, this one is in really good. I'm just going to take it off camera and give it a little more force. All right, so it's off. And what they did on the sculpted figure here too on the back, so you can see that's where the holes, it almost looks like an owl face, doesn't it? Like a court of owls or something. But I like this furry little piece here, the connection for the wings on his harness, the flowing black hair, looking so good. And what I really like as well, you move the head, he's got great range of motion. The hair doesn't impede it whatsoever. He does have the pouches. He does the asymmetrical hands. He's got the full kind of gauntlet here, just a little brown glove. The mace is, I don't know. I'm not digging it so much for some reason. If you take a little bit of a closer look, it just seems a little small. Like I expect maybe a little bit longer handle. I always liked the Hawkman that had a loop here. I like that. It's kind of represented in the comics. Most of the time he has that little loop going on. Now, one thing that was really cool, he does have a little compartment here. He has this little notch here. So you can, in fact, there you go. You can put that mace into that loop and he can be, just putting it on his waist there. The detail, again, on this gauntlet is pretty nice with these little feathery kind of things. These tassels going on. The hand looks really good. This one, I like this glove. I wish he had 2 of these kind of gloves maybe, or just alternate hands to give him that option of carrying another weapon in his hand, right? I think that's really appropriate for Hawkman. This guy's going to be kind of amped out with weaponry. So overall, the stylization of this figure is impressive. I really do enjoy it. He looks fantastic. He's going to have a definite presence on your shelf, but is he the Hawkman we want? I don't think so. Not yet. This is a great variant of Hawkman who's had multiple costumes, different representations, and I like that aspect that we got this one, but I do want the traditional Hawkman. I want that variant, but done with a new body, or at least lower body, because, I don't know, the kind of padded diaper section here, it looks great. It's seamless with the body, which is great, but I'm not too crazy about it. I really would have preferred that new or classic version of Hawkman, excuse me. But for this stylization, it captures that look to a T, and I'm really happy to have this figure in my collection. So enough about the figures, overall aesthetics, articulation. So we've gone on about the head sculpt. It is phenomenal. I absolutely love it. And it does retain a lot of the articulation. The hair doesn't get in the way, and you can get him in some great downward looking poses. It has really good ample room for articulation. The shoulders have the butterfly hinge. Now, on a torso that's more bare-chested, it doesn't have any pauldrons or anything like that. They do stand out a bit more, the spacer discs, and it kind of, I don't know. I'm kind of seeing sometimes it looks good. You got to play around with the positioning of it to give him a bit better, fuller shoulder joint to make it look more aesthetically pleasing, but it does give him that extra bit of articulation. So you do have the cut at the bicep, double jointed ratcheted elbows, ball socket at the wrist. Now for his waist articulation and torso articulation, it's pretty good. He can go back quite a bit. So you got really good movement there. Doesn't bend forward too much, but he does have really good back articulation again in flight poses. Now, in addition to that, he does have his waist joint, full 360, ball joints at the hips, double jointed and ratcheted knees. You got your socket at the boot, which looks fantastic. It's really covered up nicely. You got the pivot, toe articulation, everything you can want there. So aesthetically, this is a very nice looking Hawkman. He looks fantastic. I'm very happy to have him in the collection. Now let's see how he compares against some other figures. Now I'm going to take his wings off and leave them off for the rest because they are massive and they kind of get in the way a little bit. But we do have this previous Hawkman from the Black Adam movie. Now this one, man, it's very different. I by no means dislike this figure. I really do like this figure. What I like is he could be like a Thangarian soldier, excuse me. And he does have some great stylization. He's represented very well in the movie. It looks cool. I've seen a lot of people try and customize this into a standard kind of classic Hawkman with some varying degrees. But one thing about the wings I like, how they're different from the ones we got here. It's not articulated. It's more kind of stuck in, not as spread out or as present as the other ones. It doesn't have any articulation whatsoever. It just has that connection into the socket, and that's it. So it's still, overall, this is a nice Hawkman. Have two Hawkmans in your collection. This could be a soldier or something, like I said. Very cool. This mace, wow, it's spiked out to the max. Like really heavily spiked out. It's a bit stiffer material. They're kind of sharp, these little points as well. This one does have that little strap, but yeah, I think it's definitely a movie kind of version, stylization of this Hawkman. Overall, this one's pretty cool too, but I like that one a lot more. So another figure we'll kind of compare him with here is with the Aquaman from Lost Kingdom. So I definitely could see these two guys on a Justice League team kind of brawling. Definitely your heavy hitters for the team if they had this kind of a stylization for Aquaman. Really cool to see these two guys together. And the heights, I like it. It's not too short, perfect stature for both of those figures. Now, another figure I want to take a look at, he's another brawler who has kind of been a villain hero with the Justice League and Lobo. So these two, I really like the height comparison as well. I can just see Hawkman being used in a lot of kind of fight scenes with Lobo, if you're displaying some stuff. I think it'd be really cool because Hawkman is such a brawler. And put him up against Lobo, I think would look really cool. And I think that might be a short coming up soon. So I'm really looking forward to as well, Lobo and the Space Hog, and doing a review with that. That's going to be here hopefully in like mid-February. My first time I pre-ordered it, it got canceled. Then it got reinstated, then it was delayed, and now it's looking like mid-February. So hopefully it shows up, and we're definitely going to do a video review in comparison with this one that I have. Another figure that I don't think gets much attention or love, but this is the Wonder Woman designed by Todd McFarlane. Now, I brought this figure up because that shield, that is a phenomenal looking shield, and I'm disappointed Hawkman didn't come with a shield or any extra weapons, but this might find its way to Hawkman in a short coming up. So yeah, I'm gonna try that out and see how it looks. This figure is pretty cool. There is two versions of it. This is the regular standard version. There's another gold label, which I believe has more gold on it in comparison to the blue, and they're kind of swapped color-wise, but this is a phenomenal looking figure, and that shield does look pretty cool. So throughout the Justice League history, Green Arrow and Hawkman have always kind of been at it as friends, as kind of not enemies, but, you know, they've had varying opinions on certain things. Now, the Injustice version of Green Arrow, he's a big boy. He does stand a little bit taller. Would have liked to see him a little bit shorter, but that's an Injustice video game series line where the scale is just kind of whacked out. They're really tall figures, but I like to have these two guys together. And then seeing these two together, I just would like to have a bit more going on with this Hawkman for some accessories. Like I said, the mace is cool, but he needs more. This Green Arrow is absolutely awesome. He's one of my favorite figures. Came out quite a while ago. There's 2 versions of him, one with a hat. I remember picking that up at Target in the US, and it was like $7. Man, that was a good deal. Good times. But glad to have both of these figures together, and maybe they'll be in a Justice League together down the road. Now, comparing with one of my Batmans here. This Batman's from Death Metal. He has a customized head. We swapped out the Hush kind of gritting teeth 2-pack version, put him on this body buck, and man, I love it. It's one of my favorite versions of Batman, just ready to attack. He went through hell in Death Metal, and Darkest Nights and all that kind of stuff. So it's very cool to have these 2 guys together, 2 battle-ready kind of figures. Very nice scaling as well. They're almost the same. Hawkman is just slightly taller, but I wish Hawkman was even a little bit more buff. Just a little bit more buff, just to give him a bit more bulk to him. But man, I can't complain about that figure. He does look so good. Now, we'll also compare him with his other wave mate, and that is Firestorm. We just did a video review on that guy. He is a little bit taller than Firestorm is a little bit taller, but that's still okay. You know, he's a young Ronnie Raymond, and he's a little bit more, hey, he can be a little taller, not the end of the world for scaling. But then again, when you put the wings on this Hawkman, it is going to give him a bigger presence, and it's going to look awesome. So there you go, guys. This is the review on Hawkman. I'm very happy with the figure. A couple things could make this figure just stand out even more, but what you got here is a figure that, if you're a Hawkman fan, is a must-have. He is very striking. The presence he has is absolutely phenomenal. Just needs a little bit more. So you're going to have to dig into your action figure accessories, grab some weaponry, bulk him out, give him some more stuff so he can have a bit better presence to him on your shelf. Swap out that hand possibly. I haven't tried swapping out the hands if they are. I would suggest if you're going to do any kind of swapping out of the hands, boil them first, get them under really hot water so they're a bit more softer and pliable, and you can probably get it out with no problem. I am going to do some experimentation on this figure. I'm probably going to buy another one, maybe even 2, because I do want to have a traditional Hawkman, so I'm probably going to do some body swapping, see what I can do, see what I can come up with, and that'll be fun. And we're definitely going to do a short. I'm going to do some battle scenes with this guy against some heroes, villains, and we'll see what happens next. All right, guys, thanks so much for watching. I really appreciate all the feedback, commentary. Sinestro's coming up next, so stay tuned for that. We're gonna do some fun comparisons and check that figure out. He is kind of I don't know, Firestorm and Hawkman were the first 2 that I saw, and I'm like, holy crap. And then it's like, Sinestro as well is in this line. Damn, this is going to be a good lineup. So hopefully he doesn't disappoint when we do the review. Stay tuned for that. And thanks very much for watching, guys. Have a great one.